Hello, hello, welcome everyone. Good to see everyone. G'day, Kobe. Hey, Martha. Let me know where you're coming in from, guys, today. Good to see everyone. Already 125 tuning in, which is brilliant. I'm excited to spend the next 90 minutes getting into the markets with all of you. G'day, Shirley. Hey, Kobe. Always number one, Kobe. Whereabouts you guys tuning in from? Sydney. Hey, Jason. Martha, you've got a cyclone? No, Shirley in Geraldton waiting for the cyclone to hit. Oh, goodness. Hopefully you're going to be all right, Shirley. Morning, Bernie. Hey, Laura from Sydney. Christy, morning from Bundaberg. Cedar from Brisbane, Vegas. Hey, Vlad. Hey, Kate. Morning from Perth. Morning, Edwin. Travis is unfortunately not on today's one, Kobe. He's actually, he's got the day off. It's his partner's birthday. So he's got better things to be doing than hanging out with me, unfortunately. Hey, Aaron. Got Amanda from Indianapolis. Brilliant. Christchurch. Hey, Jonathan from the Central Coast. Fantastic. Well, welcome in, guys. We'll just let the last couple roll in and then we'll get started. I'm very excited to get into a lot of content today, really around the market and where things are at. I might actually bring you guys over here so I can see a little bit easier. Bring over, that's better. We're going to get into a lot of things just in regards to market timing. We're going to get into entry levels. Is now the right time to buy? Obviously, altcoins, Bitcoin, the Middle East situation, how that's impacting crypto. We're going to look at the altcoin strategy that we have at the moment, why this altcoin at the moment that we invested in last year is up 70% year to date, while everything else is crashing around it. I'm going to get into that as well to help out, just getting into everything that you guys need to help really make sure you're set up for the next quarter. We're already at the end of March, so we want to make sure that everything is ready to go for the next little period for all of you and help you with your strategy. I'd actually like to know, just out of 10, rate yourself on the confidence of your strategy in the chat. 1 being no idea, no strategy. and 10 being absolutely locked in, no support needed. Love to know where you guys are at. Let me know in the chat. 1, Kate, 3, Kobe's locked in, brilliant. Kerry, we can't hear you. That might be you, Kerry. I think everyone else can hear. Kirsty, one. Jessica, one. Jonathan, one. Okay, cool. 2, 2, 2, 6, 2. Okay, and let's put in, what about out of 10? No, that's probably the wrong way to do it. Let's go. Who's new to crypto? Who's brand new? Just type in new if you're brand new to crypto. I'm going to say brand new being like less than 6 months. Anyone new? 3, Justin. Edwin's a 3. Bernie's a 1. Dorian's a 3. Cool. Hey, John from South Carolina. Okay, only a couple new. Brilliant. And what about those that have been in crypto? Yeah, new. Okay, there's a few new. What about put in the year that you started in crypto? That's probably a better question. Morning, Reese. Martha, absolutely locked in, Martha. You can come and co-host this session with me then. 1 brand new. 2024, Kobe, Alex, yeah, cool. Fantastic. 2023. Awesome. Okay. Spring 2025. Great. And what's the number one thing that you need help with at the moment? What's one area of your strategy, crypto? If you could just name one thing that you really need some support with, throw it in the chat. What is that thing? Is it entry strategy? Is it how to buy Bitcoin? Is it, altcoin strategy? Is it sell strategy? Is it tax? Is it lending? Is it Simon pre-2020? When to sell? Okay, there's a good mix. When to buy? It's good reason you're here, Kobe. That's the topic of the session. When to buy? That's good. Scaling out. Lorraine, how to find the right coin, when to take profits, staying in the game. Yeah. All the above, how to secure. Yeah, cool. Yep, great. And how are we feeling just generally about the market at the moment? Like in terms of your feelings, confidence, what's the emotion that you feel when you think about your portfolio at the moment? Is it confidence? Is it anxiety? Is it worry? Like where are you at in terms of the market? It's obviously been a pretty brutal 18 months in crypto. Corrections are very normal in crypto, like we are now. Bitcoin's down sort of 40, 45% from all-time highs. How are you feeling about crypto at the moment? Frustrated, scared, yep. Anxiety, no confidence, yep. Staking. Michael, good man, no emotions, been too long. Lending, yeah, cool. Rob's excited. Wish I had more capital to invest. Yeah, I hear. Okay. Brilliant. Okay, well, I think we've got a pretty good understanding of where everyone's at. That's fantastic. I want to bring up my slides now so we can get stuck in here. I'm just gonna share the right screen. Let's stop screen. Share this one. There we go. Cool. There we go. Awesome. Hopefully you guys can see that. Let's bring that up. Make sure that's big enough. I'll just zoom in here because that's very small. Can you guys see that? There we go. Fantastic. Okay, you guys can see that? Fantastic. Now, today's session is going to go for 90 minutes, folks. It will be recorded. We like to have these sessions available for a few days after the fact. So we'll have that available for you guys if you need to drop out at any point. I know you're all very busy. Today's section, we are going to talk about, is now the right time to buy? All right. This is obviously a big question that a lot of people had. We did a bit of a poll on my Instagram, and by far this was the number one question that everyone had. So I'm excited to jump in and make sure that we can answer this question for everyone today. I'm going to bring up Reese and David if they are in the crowd. Well, not the crowd, but my side of the crowd. So you guys have probably met Reese and DT or seen these guys online. If you've been to some of the other sessions, Reese and DT are part of our member growth team. So these guys have been very busy speaking with a lot of members and clients at the moment, and we're coming up to the end of the quarter. So boys, we've got a lot going on in the markets. You guys have been speaking to a lot of members. What's sort of been the biggest highlights or key things that you've seen come out of the conversations with members. DT, you just got back from Japan, so I might go to Reese. He's been in the trenches the last couple of weeks, and then we'll go to you, DT. Reese, how's it been, man?
It's been great. Yeah, like I said, we had some pretty good sessions over the past couple of days as well with clients. Again, and the more people are turning up to these type of events now than ever, which is great considering kind of where we are in the market. Reality is we're like 45-50% down from all-time highs. Bitcoin's trending between its 100-week moving average, 200-week moving average. Like I spoke to kind of Simon yesterday, the odds are we're probably going to be choppy for quite some time as well. And we're still getting a lot of enthusiasm, no panic, which is awesome, because if you'd have looked at this, in the last bear market, the bear market prior to that, there was this constant panic. Crypto was a scam. It was fake, magic internet money, you name it. But yeah, here we are. We've got a great turnout today, even for this webinar. And I think this is kind of where a lot of what I'm noticing, and DT and I spoke about this yesterday, is the clients are getting their value at the moment by just being educated and obviously more knowledgeable, and more importantly, just being more patient. And again, like I mentioned this yesterday in the webinar we hosted with clients, patience is so important at this time of the market, because every kind of fiber of your being wants to just buy. You want to just kind of go all in. Whereas the reality is, and it took me so long to actually realize this, is sometimes the best thing to do is nothing. And patience, whether it's in stocks, whether it's crypto, real estate, precious metals, whatever it is, the best play is no play sometimes. And that's kind of the conversation that we've been having. And it is very hard, because a lot of people do have liquidity on the side, but they would just want to ape in all at once. But we have a very long-term strategy, and a year, 2 years from now, I think many people will understand that at the moment, this is why we have this long-term thesis.
It's a good point, man. I think the patience bit is the hardest part, especially in crypto. You always feel as though you need to be doing something, but sometimes the best thing to be doing is nothing. What about you, David? You obviously had a lot of sort of conversations. The fear around the market right now, or actually, those clients that kind of see that as opportunity. Where have you sort of seen some of the trends going at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, obviously with the global uncertainty at the moment, a lot of investors are very wary about coming into the crypto market, or even just buying anything. As Reese mentioned, sitting on the sidelines sometimes is the best thing to do. Like for myself, I've got 20% of my portfolio in stables and cash ready to go. I'm watching very closely what's happening and what the analysts are saying about where we'll be moving over the next 6 months, 12 months. And it's very interesting just seeing a lot of people in this chat today have been in crypto for at least a year. So they've seen the ups and downs. They've seen the tops of 2024, 2025. And this is probably the first big retrace that they've experienced. So I can imagine the anxiety that a lot of you investors are feeling at the moment. And I think it all comes back down to the collective shift operating system, right? What do we do in these situations? What's the strategy that we've got? Portfolio allocation, exit strategies. It becomes really important to apply these strategies so that we can have a more long-term approach when it comes to investing. And that's why having a good team, having a good support system, analysts, Travis is great when it comes to the psychology of crypto, which is, a very big factor when it comes to being successful. So yeah, I think there's a lot of really good conversations coming out of these strategy calls that me and Reese have been having. And we're going to be opening up our calendars for the next couple of days to have these conversations to see if we are a good fit, to see if there's anything that we can do to sort of help you with your crypto strategy as well.
Yeah, brilliant, guys. So what I might actually do is we might even just drop the link in the chat. Full transparency, folks. Later on in the session, I'll share a little bit about a special promotion we're running for today's session on the few spots we have left for next month's cohort of a membership we take on. So we only take on a limited amount of people. So for those that are interested, basically just book some consultation calls to see if it's a good fit. I'll put that link in the chat so you guys can take a look there if you're interested, and I'll talk about that later, but you'll speak with either Reese or David later on, and they'll be in the chat if you guys need any support. So, me and Jance, leave you to it.
Speak to you later.
I'm going to get into things. So, lots going on in the market at the moment. I want to dive into a couple of things that I've been looking at to help you sort of get a little bit closer to understanding timing on entry points, exit points, that's really data driven. I think the biggest part that a lot of people miss in crypto is that there's so much noise out there. Has anyone else just felt completely overwhelmed when either getting into crypto or just generally when you go online, just absolutely hit for six with so many different insights, opinions, so much going on that can be super difficult to kind of, navigate from the noise. Signal is so important in crypto to actually make good decisions. And I think that's something that, a lot of investors get wrong. Yeah, 100% Cedar. I'll bring up Matt. I think Matty's just logged in. We might bring up Matt as well to help us out. Morning, Matt.
Hey, man. How's things?
Very good, thank you. We're just kicking off, Matt, with some of the, the operating system that we sort of utilize the collective shift to be able to cut through a lot of the noise. One of the things that I think is unique about collective shift is that we share what we actually do ourselves. Like, this is a real portfolio that we share. It's not about just, random signals online that doesn't really give, people the credibility, I guess, of the insights. Like, our job is to share with, our members and you guys today on, what's actually happening with our own portfolio. And what's really been going on, the last probably nearly 18 months now is that it's been a really tough time in crypto. All markets really. Bitcoin at the moment is down 44% from the October peak. The fear and greed index is in extreme fear, has been for a little while now. And that drawdown, is roughly, in similar ranges that we've seen in previous corrections. Now, if you're brand new to crypto, looking at down 44% can be absolutely, gut wrenching. But it's actually a part of the game in crypto. The sell-offs that we see in crypto are very, extended, I would say. It's very emotional. There's high amount of liquidity. Crypto trades 24/7, and we get a big amount of volume when people are, in those fearful states. And it usually occurs from retail. All right. Retail are the ones that get scared and start to, have these sort of forced selling. And what's happened recently is we've started to see that, even institutions that have come in, are also starting to feel that panic. Now, Matt, we saw late last year, when, Bitcoin started to unwind a little bit, we had the October 10 sort of liquidation event. And I might bring up the chart to kind of make this a little bit easier. We had some really, sort of strong movements in the market that, caused these massive spikes in crypto kind of selling off. And that really rattled the market. If I bring up the Bitcoin chart here so you guys can see that. Do you want to just talk through a little bit about what happened in October and why I guess the market is still kind of recovering from that and why that's probably the opportunity? Like, there was a little bit of a structurally, a few things that were happening below the surface.
Yeah, basically prices moved really quickly in relation to, I think, some tariff news or something like that. And yeah, there was an issue with Binance's sort of pegging mechanism with some of their wrapped assets. A bunch of things on Binance's end sort of went wrong, and that sort of had a ripple effect in terms of the exchanges working properly, giving people the prices that were at market rate. Essentially, you had various leverage traders, so people that borrowed with people who trade with borrowed money obviously have to look after their margins so that they don't get margin called or liquidated. They had no control of that, so a lot of those people who were trading with borrowed money lost, in some cases, all of their money because they got liquidated across their portfolio, depending on how it was set up. And it, at the end of the day, it left a big blemish on the crypto industry. It was I think a stark reminder of how still nascent and young like the industry still is. At the end of the day, it's a bit over 10 years old, which in the grand scheme of things isn't overly old. And I think it did rattle a lot of traders in particular and leverage traders, and they didn't have that confidence then to go back into the market immediately, because it's like, hey, can I even trust that my portfolio or my leverage positions are going to be safe even if I have stop losses? A lot of the cases, people just still got liquidated anyway. So it was really, that was like sort of the long and short of it. But it did, I think, heavily impact what was a painful Q4 for risk for crypto. And what made it worse for a lot of people feeling it was seeing everyone in the precious metal side of things, the gold side of things rallying. Stocks were still rallying to all-time highs. But yeah, I really do think that October 10 liquidation event, not just the actual day and the actual dollars that were lost on that day, but I think even more importantly, and what gets under discussed or not as much attributed to, I suppose, crypto's Q4 performance, was the flow-on effects from that October 10th event, more so to do with the confidence of, I guess, market participants. And they were really just then being like, hey, I'm going to stay away from crypto for a while because I just lost all my money. I don't really understand how.
Yeah, spot on, Matt. And I think, like, one thing that's really important to note when looking at crypto is historical context is important. 30 to 50% corrections are very normal. I mean, I've gone through multiple corrections, down 70, 80%. Prior cycles in 2017, maybe I can zoom in here. It's a bit easier to see. Hopefully you guys can see that. Zoom in once more. Is that a bit better? Yeah, cool. 30 to 50% corrections are normal. So in 2017, we had a 38% correction for Bitcoin. 2021, we had a 54% correction, and 44%, is where we are now. When we get into these oversold territories, like the weekly RSI that's oversold, sentiment is in extreme fear. It's the hardest time to buy, right? It just feels like it's not, something you should be putting your money into. But historically, in markets, especially of crypto, that the point of maximum upside potential is when there is maximum fear. The point of maximum risk is actually at the point of maximum euphoria. All right. But what happens is the inverse. Humans get excited when there's upwards trajectory on the market. We get confidence because there's green candles. But green candles and confidence is a bad thing because that creates, convergence to one side of the market. Everyone is bullish. Everyone is excited, and then it unwinds. So the old age saying of be fearful when people are greedy and greedy when people are fearful is even more common or more important in crypto because you have even bigger upside and downside because of the swings and volatility. All right. One of the things that I always say to our clients is that you cannot expect to make the money you can in crypto without the risk and without the volatility that you have to take on. That's part of the game. All right. Adam was actually one of a member that came in to us. He's been a platinum member now for, I think, 3 years. He lost 2/3 of his portfolio. And then, talks about how, from restructuring and being able to take advantage of the periods where the market is down, the market can punish you. But if you can build that right framework to get in and allocate at the right time, you come out so much stronger. All right. So over the last 9 years, like for me, I've been doing crypto now for 9 years. I've made most of my money in the 2021 bull market. And if we go back to these corrections being normal, you see here Bitcoin was down 54%. This was actually the year that I made the most amount of money I've ever had. And that was because I was accumulating in the years prior, or the year prior specifically. And if I show you the chart of what that actually looked like, the money is not made in bull markets, guys. When the market is absolutely flying, that is not the period where you make money. The money is made in these accumulation ranges. This is, if we go back to 2019, 2020, maybe I'll just move us to the left-hand side here. So you can see that. Yeah, cool. See where I've circled in the blue here? That is where I made over a year and a half period, a long accumulation range that we saw similar to where we are now. Bitcoin peaked out in 2017 at 20,000 USD for Bitcoin. It then went on a 2-year pretty much journey of going sideways and down. It bottomed out at $3,000. Bitcoin went down close to 80%. I was putting all the money I had into Bitcoin during this period here. And not only that, I started to accumulate into some altcoin projects. At the time, we were investing heavily in the metaverse. All right. Spoken about that a lot in the past. But guess what? This period feels the worst time because no one likes crypto. Everyone thinks it's dead. And you go home to your partner and tell them that you've just bought a bunch of crypto and they think you're stupid. All right. That's the hardest part. You have to have conviction in the periods of maximum fear. And then this run up here that we had for Bitcoin from the bottom of, middle of 2020 to end of 2021, Bitcoin went up 1,200%. All right. And that was Bitcoin. When you layer in the right altcoin investments like I had at the time, That's the green here. You can't even see the Bitcoin chart. That's how far up the altcoin investments went at this point. So Bitcoin went up 1,200% from the bottom to the top. Altcoins went up, in the altcoin market cap, 6,000%, all right, during that period. So what we see in time and time again with these cycles is that altcoins, you can see here, so altcoins are in the green, the market cap, and then in the red and green bar chart, you've got Bitcoin. Altcoins, the right altcoins will way outperform Bitcoin in the right period of the market, but then severely underperform when the market's on the downside. So the inverse is also true. Think of altcoins like inverse to Bitcoin, like a leverage position. And that's something that over the last 9 years I've really studied and learned really heavily. Is you have to not only know which altcoins are investments to get in, but timing is so important. If you have that timing wrong and you only buy, like let's say last year and you bought Bitcoin at 120,000, that was your first entry point, or you're buying, Solana at $180 and now it's at 90, like it feels really, really sickening. All right. And that's the entry point that is so important, which we're going to talk about today. The other thing as well is, for me and Collective Shift, the reason I started this company was because I used to work for a crypto YouTube influencer. I saw how influencers work. They get paid to promote projects. They get paid and sign non-disclosure agreements. So they share to you, the retail, to you and I, to listen to those videos, and they get paid on advertising deals. They get paid on clicking on your affiliate link. The incentives are so misaligned. All right. And I lost a lot of money, back in that period, from, following poor influencer advice. And it wasn't until I started Collective Shift and started working with Matt and the team that I really realized that by creating, investments that we have in our portfolio from the research and analysis that we share internally, we found an edge. And that edge was fundamental investing. So investing into tokens and altcoins that had strong fundamentals, right? And that's why one of the altcoins I'm going to share today, why that's up 70% year to date. All right. What people get sucked into though is the influencers promoting all sorts of crap about their altcoins. All right. And then what happens is you, as the investor, get trapped into cognitive bias. You go looking for people that want to agree with your opinion. All right. No one wants to listen to someone that disagrees with you because it feels bad. You want to be right. So what happens is you invest and then you go find information from people that agree with your decision. All right. And then what happens is the social media algorithms are so good. I know because I create a lot of content. They're so good at, like, if you listen to one video for 30 seconds, 10 seconds, guess what's going to happen? There's going to be so much more of that content that's going to be fed to you. All right. So you go watch one XRP video. All of a sudden there's 2, then there's 5, then there's 10. And then God forbid anyone disagrees with you. You do not want to listen to that. So you again go and find more people that agree with you. And then you keep holding that investment and you're not listening to anyone that disagrees. You're just listening to people that are all in it together, having this sort of hope sheep mentality. All right. And that's what creates poor investments. Has anyone ever felt that on their social media feeds? Just this echo chamber that gets created. Is anyone aware of that? Have they seen it? I'd love to know just in the chat if you've experienced that personally. Anyone experienced that? Yep. Cool. Yeah. All right. Glad indeed. Yeah. It's pretty poor. It's not poor. It creates poor decision making. Erica. Yep. Yeah. You guys are familiar. Yeah. Cool. Lorraine. Yes. Yeah. All right. It's really important to have that sort of independent viewpoint. All right. So for me, my portfolio over the last 6 years, we had this, it's audited that I've returned on average over the last 6 years, compounding average growth rate is 116%. All right. Now there's years that 2 years out of the last 6, I was in the red. All right. And that is crypto. You've got to minimize your losses in those periods where there's not much you can do. No one can go over to the Middle East right now and stop the war. All right. As much as, we'd like to. All right. We can't. We cannot change the world. We cannot change what happens. This is not a business. You don't rock up and get paid for the amount of hours you spend on Twitter looking at your crypto feed. That's not the case. These are investments. So you've got to be strategic. All right. And I think that's really one of the best parts that a lot of our clients, get exposure to, is being able to just see what an actual, independent crypto portfolio looks like. That was Amber. She actually put this on Google only a couple of days ago, just talking about the intel advice and the investment portfolio, about being able to follow the collective shift analyst is proving to be well worth the time. And I find that because you can cut out all of the noise from your social media and just have a curated feed of signal. All right. The investments, though, that we look at, the reality is we do it for ourselves. All right. Because we invest them ourselves and then we share that back with our members. And that's one of the investments we're going to share with you guys today, around how, it can make a lot of growth very quickly if you get in the right time. Now, what I'm about to share with you guys is typically reserved for our platinum members. These folks pay upwards of $15,000 US a year to get access to this. This is obviously what we do with them every day, but I'm taking a little bit of what we deliver to them and helping you get a little bit of this access to help you on your own journey. We're going to go through some key Bitcoin levels, some narratives that we're looking at to help you cut out the noise. We're going to look at the altcoins that, some of the altcoins that we're looking at personally, and then the timing, all right? And then help you build your 90-day plan. Does that sound all right? You guys okay with that game plan? Wow, 200 live. That's awesome. Give me a little yes in the chat if that's a good plan. Flagged self-deception. Yep, 100%. Edwin trying to avoid social media. Yep, I get it. Awesome. Okay. There's really three key levels, all right, that we're looking at. The current zone, Bitcoin is holding around that $70,000 level, all right? Holding reasonably well despite all the macro conditions that's going on, all right? Bitcoin has been consolidating here, all right? And whilst it is consolidating, it hasn't broke down beyond that $60,000 level, which is, a mild positive level. What we're really looking for at the moment is a sustained weekly close below that level. All right. And that next level down, if we were to sustain a weekly close below that $70,000 level, is that next historical support zone is around that $65,000, $66,000 level. This is where Bitcoin touched 63,000. Was that in February, Matt? I think it was, if I bring up the chart here, I think Bitcoin, it was around, we touched 65,000. It started March. So Bitcoin's kind of been on this like multi-month downward trend, but we've seen
start of February was when everyone lost their minds. That's when it went to about 61.
It was this period here. Yeah. This was drop off. That was the painful drop off that we felt.
Yeah.
Now, the major floor below that, to see that we've had some, historical support there is a really good signal. We've also got some of the moving averages that, we've been looking at that continue to provide some good support. If I bring this up here, that we're looking at as key levels. All right. The yellow line here is the 200-week moving average. All right. This is historically the major floor that, would bring potentially a real level of confidence to Bitcoin bottoming, because once we broke through the 50-week back in late 2026, this is the green line here. That was the historical support line for the bull market right back to nearly 2023. When we broke below that, that's when we went defensive. We started to add more stable coins to the portfolio, because this sharp sell-off, when Bitcoin goes down 45%, if you look at the altcoin market cap, altcoins will go a lot heavier, all right? Especially altcoins that don't have strong fundamentals. If we look at something like Cardano as an example, during that same period, all right, you've got Bitcoin that drops 48%, all right, from top to bottom. And then these altcoins can get so much worse. Cardano's down 75% at that same time. So if Bitcoin goes down 40%, your altcoins, if they're not strong, will bleed so much heavier. All right. And that's why buying and selling altcoins at the right time is so important. I'm going to talk about why the altcoin I was mentioning at the start, why that's done so well versus some of these other projects in a second. But they're the sort of three key, Bitcoin support levels we're looking at. Not only that, technical levels are important, but what I find even more important is the on-chain signals. All right. So we look at the resistance levels. This is where where buyers start to show up on these key levels. When Bitcoin starts to have run-ups, the biggest part is about understanding whether it is a relief rally or whether we're actually breaking through to the upside. All right. And relief rallies are very common in crypto, and it's very important that you don't get sucked into the relief rallies. I did a post on relief rallies a couple of weeks ago. I might just bring that up so you can have a look. Relief rallies are where you get sucked into short-term sellers, basically shorts getting liquidated, and we have a short relief rally. It sucks investors back in because we think the market's back, and then what happens? Then the market rolls over and you essentially end up losing even more money. All right. So the resistance where sellers usually show up, again, the first meaningful level that I'm looking at is $80,000. Once we get above a weekly close of $80,000, I'd have a lot more confidence that the market structure is in an upwards trajectory. And then, if we then end up above the 50-day moving average, that's going to be a very big signal. From an on-chain perspective, on-chain analysis is a big part that we look at at Collective Shift. We've got one of the world's leading on-chain analysts that allows us to look at crypto from a movement on-chain. And for those of you that don't even know what on-chain analysis is, I might just quickly share. This is our Collective Shift member platform. This is what all of our clients get access to. So on-chain analysis is essentially your ability to look literally on-chain. So one of the best things about a blockchain is that it is immutable and it's transparent. So we can literally see who is buying and who is selling at any one time when it's on-chain. And we have some really good indicators that we utilize to help us understand where the whales are moving, where the big investors are getting in. Is this retail selling or is this institution selling? How much balances are on exchanges? Are these long-term holders selling or are these short-term holders? All right. And these on-chain signals that we look at, the big ones are long-term holders like, distribution and looking from accumulation periods. Are the long-term holders, the people that have been in Bitcoin for a long time, are they accumulating here or are they selling? ETF flows, they've been slowed but not reversed. Matt, actually the ETF was an interesting one. Like we saw with this sell-off recently in February, there was only, I think it was at 7% reduction in the ETF.
I think when I look back at the start of 2026, I think one of the things I'll remember, obviously everyone freaking out about the price collapsing, but on the other side of it, I think I'll look back on this time as being like, wow, this was a time when the demand for Bitcoin from news sources was up and running. So I can talk a lot about Michael Saylor and Strategy, of course. They've been buying so much, immense amounts of Bitcoin. And last bear market, they were around, yes, technically, but they were buying tiny amounts. So their ability to raise funds and the mechanisms they can do that are so much more advanced. But more importantly, to Ben's point, I think this is a bigger one, in my opinion, is the ETF story. So they weren't around in last bear markets. However, to Ben's point, what he just said about the overall Bitcoin that is held by these ETF issuers, examples of BlackRock, VanEck, some of the biggest names on Wall Street, the amount of Bitcoin they are holding in aggregate on behalf of their ETF, people who buy ETFs every day around the world and other institutions that allocate to them. That amount of Bitcoin's price has fallen about 40% from October's highs. In that time, Ben, total amount of Bitcoin held by these ETFs has fallen by around 5%, which is unbelievably bullish or encouraging. And for me, I would be a lot more concerned if the total Bitcoin held by these ETF issuers if it had fallen by around the same as Bitcoin's price, by 30, 40, 50%. For me, I'd be like, man, that's not great, because one of the biggest bull cases for Bitcoin that we're seeing playing out in real time is ETF demand is stickier than the average user, the average person. You've got some of the biggest funds around the world, like Harvard's endowment fund, for example, allocating, a small amount to Bitcoin ETFs. Everyone around the world starting to do this. That is one of the biggest bull cases that I've had for a while now about why I still firmly believe Bitcoin's going much higher. So of course, ETF flows, I think a lot of people are missing that at the moment.
Yeah, spot on, Matt. And I think some of the big parts here just around narrative and why certain altcoins are performing versus not. I think is really comes down to fundamentals. All right, and you've got fundamentals are essentially investments in the cryptocurrency space that drive revenue and drive the business, the product that it's created, back to the token. one thing that is misunderstood widely when getting into crypto, if you're brand new, is that you are not buying a share in a company when you get into crypto. You have what's called tokenomics. And tokenomics is essentially where you have the way the cryptocurrency is built. And one thing that is really, really misunderstood is that a lot of these altcoins have huge amounts of tokens that unlock into the supply for people to have to buy. And one of the reasons why you see some of these projects, these altcoins, there's so many to even talk about. Let's go look at like Cardano as an example, or just picking on Cardano today, is you get these massive unwinds of price because of the amount of unlocks that it has. All right. From top to bottom here, these altcoins are down, well, that's from 2021, from the peak to the bottom, down 91%. All right. That's got to go up like 800% or 700% to get back to break even. All right. So why is that the case? Why is that different to something like, a strong project that is actually doing well? Is because of the amount of unlocks and the amount of supply that gets created for that token. And if we bring up something just to visualize this a little bit better, if we look at Cardano, so you can see here, you've got what's called maximum supply. If we're going to zoom over, no. You've got what's called maximum supply here, all right? And then you've got total supply, and then you've got the outstanding supply and circulating supply. So this is basically saying at the moment, about 80%, 85% of the amount of tokens that Cardano has are available to buy in the market. And then the rest of these tokens, from 36 million to 45 million, they're essentially just going to be unlocked over the next coming weeks and months and years perhaps, that will go into the open market for people to buy. Now, this is essentially early VCs, so big investors that get access to tokens far earlier than retail. They get in at an early price. Then the token unlocks, so they share those tokens out into the world. And then the retail, everyday investors like you and I, come in. We get really excited because the influencers are getting paid by some of these projects. I'm not saying Cardano, just like most of these projects will pay influencers to get everyone excited about buying it. But basically, it's a piece of shit project, to be honest. And then you buy it, and who's selling it to you is the early VCs. So what happens is that these tokens get spun up. And again, I'm not just picking on Cardano here, just in general, 95 to 98% of these tokens, this is how it works. The early investors make money, all right, where you get access to them either in VC rounds or through the native markets, through decentralized exchanges. You get early access. If you don't get early access, then you are just exit liquidity. And that is the truth. And unfortunately, no one will tell you that, because these influencers are getting paid to promote these tokens, and they get a clip to sell into you. And that is why 95% of people lose in crypto, because people get sucked into the FOMO, get sucked into the noise, and you end up buying hype and FOMO over the substance. So the assets that we're really excited about that have strong narratives are, RWAs, like tokenization of real assets and settlements of real assets. I'm going to talk about that altcoin in a second. That's changing how you can literally buy and trade oil and stocks 24/7. Stable coins are a big one, where you can start to earn a yield and an income. And then mature DeFi plays, all right, where you can actually utilize decentralized finance. That's a big one. We're very heavily looking into AI and blockchain and the integration. I'm very excited about AI. However, as you probably come to see, Matt did a great post recently for our members talking about the AI projects. And AI is not new for crypto. AI has been around for a long time. But again, if you were to buy some of these AI projects that have come out, and I'll just share this chart that Matt shared to our members recently, this one here. Matt did a deep dive on crypto and AI. So you've probably heard some of these projects. Maybe you personally own some of these: BitTensor, Render, Near Protocol. All right, these are the top of the chain AI projects. And then you look at the decline of the price of these tokens. Singularity Net down 95%, Render down 90%, BitTensor down 70%, Virtuous Protocol down 90%. If your investment is down 80%, it has to go back up 400% to get back to break even. All right. That's a massive problem. if you're holding tokens that far down. All right. So the biggest problem that people have is not only the investment that they're looking to buy, but it's the wrong time. They don't know when to buy. So they buy at the wrong time. They get too excited. They jump in and they follow the noise. They follow the crowd. And you end up being exit liquidity. All right. And that is the big part that, so many of, I guess, people in crypto, people online, just do not share when it comes to crypto. That 99% of the altcoins and cryptocurrencies will go to zero. Yeah, go, Matty.
Oh, it's a dirty secret of the industry
100%.
and the market. And it can be done quite in nefarious ways, to be honest. Like to Ben's point about drumming up the speculation and drumming up the hype. In the most nefarious examples, projects may be working on something for a year or so, and they sort of drum up the announcement, and then the launch of that thing, coincidentally, or in the most nefarious example, actually coincides with the unlock. So, there's so many ways that this can be manipulated to, again, us, the everyday person who doesn't know much about crypto, is unfortunately at the bottom of the food chain. That has been the story for many years. But now crypto is, we're seeing now, Ben, an obvious dispersion in performance, finally, of altcoins. Gone are the days of them all being a rising tide lifts all boats. Those days are long gone.
Yeah. 100%, Matt. Has anyone else felt that? Maybe just drop a yes in the chat, that just you're kind of seeing that you're kind of getting screwed. You're kind of getting the raw end of the stick. Is that an Australian saying?
It's not funny. It's not funny, but it's
not funny. No,
it's bewildering, isn't it? It's what world are we in where this is it's a circus. It's
100%.
It's a shit show.
Yeah. Has anyone else felt that? Yes. Yep. Yeah, it's crazy, right? And yes, if your investments are down, it's
well, you got $100. It falls down 80%. That gives you to $20. Then it's got to go up, 5x to get back to break even. So doing a 5x is a 400% gain.
Here's the chart. If you're holding altcoins that are down, let me scroll up so you can see that. So if your altcoin is down 60%, it's got to go up 150%. If it's down 80%, it's going to go up 400%. My favorite, Matty, is someone that holds an altcoin down 80% and then it goes down another 80%. Doesn't have 20% left to go.
Unfortunate, it's on an unfortunate learning curve.
So I guess again, one of the biggest things that we deliver, there's so much noise out there. This is actually a Google review that came in the other day from Ray, one of our members, just talking about there's a lot of noise out there. What we deliver really is just level-headed facts and trying to just cut through on the signal from the noise. Ray actually got scammed. He was losing a lot of money. He jumped on a one-on-one with one of our team to help him, recover the funds because he was, caught up in, some stuff online. And it was pretty sad, but we were able to help him out. Now let's talk about Hyperliquid. So Hyperliquid is a project that has got good, strong fundamentals. Hyperliquid we shared at $23 last year. We still hold it in the portfolio. And it's one of those investments that has just bucked the trend. It has just gone gangbusters. If we bring up the chart here so people can have a look. So as you can see on the chart here, so in the bar chart is Bitcoin, and then in the green is Hyperliquid. So this is year to date. So this is from start of 2026. Hyperliquid's up 65%. Bitcoin's down 18%. And then you've got, if we look at some of the other, like the S&P 500, down 3%. Altcoins on average, down 12%. All right. So it is outperforming every other major asset class right now. Why is that? Well, we shared Hyperliquid a year ago because we saw the upcoming need for tokenization and ability to trade assets on chain 24/7. And maybe Matt, you can share a little bit about Hyperliquid and the thesis that we had back in February where we shared here why it's done so well, and back to the fundamentals piece, strong fundamentals, why this, just briefly, why this has such a good foundation.
Yeah, like why we've, I guess, held a position in it for over a year now. And what attracted us to it was, the unique combination of signs, that indicators and signals, like the data and analytics that we monitor, that it was getting traction and sustained traction and sustained growth. Well, for a young project, multiple months of consistently growing like volume and, more importantly, fees. People are actually using this thing, getting value out of it, and they keep coming back to it. So Hyperliquid is, as Ben said, a place to go to essentially trade through. You go, technically it's like through derivatives and stuff, but now they've also got spot access. So just similar to what you would in a normal exchange, just swapping cryptocurrencies, and now these days doing tokenized gold, tokenized stocks. So what drew us to it, what many reasons I could talk about for a while, but just to keep it brief, really, the other point that we liked about it was that not only was it showing growth adoption metrics were all growing, but there's many projects that have done it in the past, cool, but that didn't mean anything for the token. So the best thing about Hyperliquid back then, and is still true, is that growth in the project actually directly tied into the value of the Hype token. And this is what we talk about with tokenomics and the design of the token. So the bigger that Hyperliquid gets, the more growth, the more adoption metrics, the more volume going through it. In simple terms, the more that they use of that protocol revenue, 99% of it goes back to the open market buying the Hype token. So all else being equal, the Hype token price goes up because it's putting upward pressure on the price by buying back the Hype token every single day, multiple times throughout the day as it collects revenue. So you're getting that beautiful combination, Ben, of great tokenomics matched with a product that people are actually using and getting value out of.
Yeah, spot on, Matt. And I think one thing that, to be clear, Hyperliquid, we didn't buy, once it got listed on, SwiftX or Binance or Coinbase, we had to buy this on a decentralized exchange. You had to buy it all directly through Hyperliquid. The best investments are never available on the major exchanges until, the price is already, rallied. So if we look at the chart, when we actually bought Hyperliquid, which was back in January of, let's go, a year ago.
It's like the first half of February. I think it was around early 20s. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I think we go up here. Yeah, in February, you couldn't buy this on a major exchanges, all right? It got listed on Coinbase, or I think it might have been Kraken, at the point where this was, really peaking. So the big takeaway here, guys, is, if you're only buying altcoins on a major exchange like a Coinbase or a Kraken or a SwiftX, you are always going to be too late. All right. Syrup was another one that, I made a lot of money on last year that we got into. I've been buying Syrup as a DeFi project now for, a number of years, but took a bigger, heavier position, at around sort of the high single cents. This was back early of last year. And I took profits in July at about 45 cents, up about 5.5x. I took profits on this. But guess what? I couldn't buy Syrup anywhere online that was easy to buy. You had to go through whatever you call it, native markets, decentralized exchanges. You had to get in early. That is where all the biggest institutions buy. That's where the big investors, where we buy. If you're not buying on these platforms and you're always waiting, you're always going to be too late. And that was another one that we got exposure to. So, in terms of your, investments, why most investors get it wrong is, one, wrong information sources, right? You're listening to the wrong areas. You're buying on the wrong places. You don't have the right platforms. You're not getting in on DeFi. There's no evaluation framework. It's just because something is going up, you're buying it. And because everyone else is talking about it, you get in the FOMO trap. And then all of a sudden, you don't understand what the token is. You buy the token that's already far, far overvalued, and then it destroys your gains on the downside. All right. So the other one here is that, people would be probably now asking, like, is now the good time to buy, Hyperliquid? For us at the moment, probably not, because it's now at $40. All right. And when we got in at $23, it's a completely different upside to downside. If the market does recover and we start to see the market, move to the upside, then yes, we probably, start to enter. But Bitcoin and altcoins are two completely different decisions on when you buy in. All right. Institutions are really saying, increase your allocations 1 to 4 to even to 5%. But altcoins is a different game. Much higher potential returns, but far higher risk. It requires far deeper research, requires a framework. And without that, you're just speculating. All right. And you're always going to be too late to the game. One of our members actually got in. He's a busy property investor. He made $120,000 in a day on Trump coin when it went through our Platinum WhatsApp because he had not only the entry criteria, but the exit strategy, and he executed really swiftly. Now, that obviously is not the case regularly. We can't provide financial advice, and also we don't, of course, sort of promise any returns. But what is the opportunity to make money in this space is unlike any other market. But the inverse is true. If you don't know what you're doing, you can also lose a significant amount of money, like a lot of money. I've seen a lot of smart people get in this space and trying to do it alone, and it can go pear-shaped really, really quickly. And I think that's probably the point that I really want to emphasize here is is now actually a good time to buy. The conditions that exist right now, today, in this minute, the catalysts are, historically a relatively good time to position for Bitcoin. We're already down 48%. Sentiment is poor. Some of the best decisions I've ever made in crypto usually feel terrible at the time. Do we bottom here at 70,000? Do we see 65,000 first? Do we see 60,000 first? Potentially. We believe that there's probably more downside to come. I wouldn't be selling the house and going and buying it, crypto tomorrow. It's about structure and strategy, and the recovery period, will happen at a certain point over the next, it could be weeks, it could be months, but when it happens fast. And I think that's the part that, where we are today, historically a good time for Bitcoin. For altcoins, I'd be holding and waiting for a good, a good sort of either confirmation of an uptrend, or depending on your risk appetite, you may want to start to sort of position in the different sectors that you might be interested in, depending on how much risk you want to add to your portfolio. All right. And I think this is a big part that, Matt, a lot of people misunderstand is what we say today will be different tomorrow. This is a market. This is crypto. Things move very quickly. And it's important to be, really up to date. Unless you have a holding Bitcoin and not going to do anything else, and you're not going to sell, you have to be across the market, or, things move extremely quickly.
Yeah, there's so many examples. Like essentially, it's like I analogize it to investing in, small cap stocks or something like that. In the riskier stuff, I suppose it is equivalent to things like penny stocks, but like they're things like meme coins and stuff. But you're never going to invest in like a biotech startup or something that's got all of these pending applications, and they're subject to massive competition, and the technology can change very quickly. You're not just going to invest like 90% of your portfolio in it and then just like look away from it and check in on it in like a year or two. Like you could if you have a high level of conviction, but doing that in crypto, it is somewhat similar, in that example, because things are just changing so quickly. So now we do a lot of work with that side of things in terms of structuring and how much risk you're willing to take, like trying to help people understand how to even think about that.
Yeah, and I'd say out of the 4 major data points that we look at, on-chain data, sentiment, and cycle positioning, is all in a positive point. It's the macro that is the thing that we're watching. That's got the real headwinds. Once that flips positive, though, I think we could be recovering really quickly. And that's the part that you want to be prepared for and watching for a switch on the macro. That's really the part that's keeping us, probably a little bit, cautious. But as we know, when macro flips, crypto is the first market to move. Crypto is the most liquid, and we move really, really quickly. All right. So that's really, really important. One of the things I would say in terms of the, 3 things to be doing before the end of Q2 is Q2. What do we got here? Q1 calendar year. The things to do before Q2 starts is, 1, really define your Bitcoin allocation. you want to be understanding, what is your Bitcoin allocation, and then factor in the timeline, knowing that we're in accumulation range here. What part of your portfolio are you wanting to use here? And in 6 months' time or 12 months' time, when we look back at this accumulation period, did you buy enough? Auditing your altcoin positions, really understanding, is your target right? Is the time frame right? What's going to change your mind? Are you holding positions that you shouldn't be? All right, and then your sell strategy. All right, the biggest mistake a lot of people make is the average sell strategy confidence is the lowest. All right, you need to be able to scale out gradually, take positions off, and take profits depending on your situation. There's condition based, there's price based, but so many people get this wrong. It's where we share when we take profits back to our members, because it's the hardest part. So you can take a little bit of confidence in being able to see what we do with our portfolio. All right. And, that's probably one of the biggest parts. I think that our members, Jason, he said, he moved from a situation where he would have been at a loss to being 2.5x up, meeting the team and understanding the sell strategy was a game changer. That was the screenshot there you can see. The sell strategy is something we help you implement. We have some sort of templates that we use, and then the data, obviously, we share back, which is a big part. All right. So that's really, the core parts of the sell strategy that I wanted to touch on. I think the auditing your positions, all right, your altcoin positions, auditing your strategy, and then actually having, some of that data to help build out what that, entry point and exit point really looks like. And if we would go right back to have a look and just sort of recap those levels we're looking at the start for those that missed, the really key levels are really positioned by the macro right now. That's the most important part that we're looking. But we know historically that when these ranges come out, all right, and you can see, Hyperliquid, just look at this was middle of last year, that this was a wild move to the upside, went up 463% in the space of, 6 months. This is what's possible when we come out of these ranges, folks. And that's why we want you to be prepared. All right. Is that all making sense in the chat? Let me know any questions or, how are you feeling about that? How are you feeling about these support levels? Which area do you think you're probably, feeling the most, especially around is now actually a good time? Because that feeling of, cautiousness or anxiety, that's real. That's the opportunity. If everyone was confident, if everyone believed that this was the bottom and we're only going to go up from here, well, then it'd be an easy trade. All right. If everyone believed that Bitcoin was going to be the future, well, then it would be a lot higher already. And that sort of evolution is starting. All right. And that's the big part. All right. And back to that macro piece, that's the Middle East, where the Middle East sort of, part, the macro that we're still monitoring really heavily, because that's the part that's going to have the biggest impact. But when we know that gets turned around and we start to push to the upside, then that's going to change really quickly. And we know that these narratives that we're speaking about is the part that's going to really be able to rally and being able to position well here on the AI perspective. I think AI is going to change the game for crypto. All right. I'd much rather be buying now at these AI projects down 80% than buying at the peak when everyone's excited. All right. Let me know, yes, in the chat, if that's all making sense, if that's sort of understanding around the narratives, the altcoins. Matt, actually, one of the areas that, we're looking at really heavily is that next phase. What are the next altcoins that we're looking at? And Matt did a piece on, his watch list before. Obviously, we'll say that to members, but that's that next period, Matt, where we've made a lot of that growth is always in these parts of fear, right? That's the
doing the research when everyone's looking away. Like it sounds simple, but no one does it. So it mustn't be that easy, to your point, Ben. But that's where the best returns have always, I guess, started for me personally and many other people I know. I guess their best investments, obviously, they don't get realized until the bull market, but those seeds have to be planted. And that work needs to be done when things are quiet, assuming that the market does come back and that crypto has, a real world purpose and people will, demand it again, which we still are resolute about and haven't changed that outlook. So therefore, why not then just spend time researching while it's very quiet? So I selfishly really love these times, but no, it can be crickets for a lot of people. And to be fair, not many people are talking about crypto at the moment, which again, opportunity from our point of view.
Spot on. So now you know what the gap is, not the how. I want to talk a little bit about what I spoke about at the start around these execution levels. So I'm going to share a little bit about how we can help implement this, and then we'll get to some Q&A after that. Drop me a 1 in the chat if you're okay, just for the next sort of 10 minutes. I'll just quickly share with you how we can actually help you go from, okay, I understand the framework, I understand the data, but I actually need some help executing this. Just drop me a 1 in the chat to make sure you guys are okay. I'll spend about 10 minutes just going through this, and then we'll get to some Q&A. Jamie, yep, questions will be answered tonight in the chat, mate. You can send those across in the chat. We'll just mark those, and then we'll get to that very shortly. Awesome. And we'll get to some questions. There's been a lot of questions coming in, folks, which is great. That's great. Mason, cool. 21, yep. A few ones coming through. Okay, awesome, guys. Cool. So there's a lot of noise in crypto. So much noise. All right. The program that we've built over the last 6 years that we now have hundreds of members a part of. We actually have over 1,000 active members in all of our memberships, but we have about 400 that we have in our platinum group, is really about helping you be your professional partner in Bitcoin, in digital assets, to help you build wealth through a framework-based program. We invest alongside you, all right? These are not just signals. A lot of serious investors coming into crypto fly blind, and they have low confidence, all right? Low confidence in their research. They can't tell you who to trust, all right? They know, or you should take profits, but you have no system, all right? They have six-figure decisions. They're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars, but have no one to validate it on, just to make it work, all right? And 74% cite that they do not have enough time. They can't watch charts all day, all right? The problem is not with how smart you are. It's just that you don't have that professional infrastructure, and you're just following a retail-based strategy. What Collective Shift is at a core is we're a framework-based education, all right? We help through independent research. We don't make money any other way. We don't do advertising. We don't do affiliates. We only get paid on the research and education that we provide to our clients, meaning that if we don't do a good job, people don't make money, they leave, they cancel, and no one wins. We have a win-win model, all right? That is the part. We invest alongside you, and it's education first. I am creating the resource, the partnership that I wish I had when I started in crypto 9 years ago, all right? This is not a signals group. It's not a course, all right, that we just throw you in and you're never going to finish because you're too busy. It's about 4 key pillars, all right? It's about education, research, community, and coaching, all right? These are the sort of 4 key pillars. What we take you on is a journey, all right, where we build out that foundation for you, all right? One-on-one sessions where we help you get the asset exposure, understand the security, build your investor profile, all right? And then we take you through the parts of being your own bank, how to generate a passive income, how to build the sales strategy, tax and planning, wealth preservation, how you can optimize to not pay tax for the Bitcoin, lend against it. And then the ongoing coaching and one-on-one sessions and portfolio and community that we provide all year round. The first 30 days is critical, all right? So the first 48 hours, we have a one-on-one session with a client success manager that's dedicated to you to build out all your goals with crypto, how your portfolio looks, and then you're oriented from day one with your own personalized strategy. You do an assessment. We have an investor profile where we diagnose everything about your situation and then help build a scoring system out of 6 different dimensions that you need to be successful in crypto. And then we build a program specifically for you. You then jump on a roundtable session with me, and we start to go in and I help you build out that strategy. And then you start to do your one-on-one sessions with our analysts, all right? The dedicated team from day one is your client success manager, all right, that is assigned to you all year round. You get annual one-on-one credits so you can work with the team 24/7. Well, not 24/7 because Matt needs to sleep, but whenever the analysts are available, you book in, and access to me, all right? And that is where so much of the results that we've been able to see with our members is primarily coming from, if I zoom out here, being able to just follow a path that's already been created, all right? So you don't have to, redo it yourself. Some of our clients here, selling 85% of his Bitcoin to buy an apartment in Greece. This was the Trump investment I shared before. Sold 63, made $120,000. Martin here. This was the portfolio that he tracks. This is my portfolio that he tracks. Totally life-changing for him. He actually shared that I've got that screenshot, I'm not sure if I do. Totally life-changing. Being a part of the Collective Shift community has been a life-changing experience for us. They're no hype, down-to-earth research and recommendations has given us the confidence to remain in crypto. We were almost broke when we followed Ben's portfolio, which led to us completely paying off our mortgage. All right, my wife was able to retire. Very thankful. Now, that was obviously a pretty epic result. But then also we have, community platforms. We can, meet other members. All right. This is a couple of business owners that are getting together, in the sunny coast. The community is a massive part. Nick, he joined, and after 6 months knowing nothing, so glad he found Collective Shift, and now he's able to go and play more golf twice a week instead of studying crypto. That's a great, playing golf instead of crypto. I think that's a good win. So we invest our capital alongside our members. All right. There's no affiliate income. We have skin in the game and no advertising, and our success is your success. That's our business model. I think that sort of, comes through so clearly when you have been in crypto for a little while and you just get flooded with this moon crap, Twitter noise. All right. Collective Shift stands out as a rare bastion of professional grade analysis. I've tried several research platforms, but this is the first one that feels like it's actually built for people who treat crypto as a serious asset class rather than a lottery ticket. All right. And that's really a lot of what the feedback is. It's around, real analysis. We work with real investors, and it's transparent. Everything we put out, win, lose, or draw, is about helping you win. And Stacey joined recently and just talks about enabling them to make more, trusted decisions is massive. And that's really, the big part around us sitting alongside. So everything that's included, you've got all of the education that we provide. So weekly sessions, full login access to our platform where you get weekly market calls. There's education sessions we host. I did a session yesterday with our members on, basically building out the 7-step strategy process. We bring in guest speakers to talk about AI. We do, how to generate an income, how to lend against your Bitcoin. You have the portfolio access. And then you have all of the coaching and access all year round, including our in-person events. And it's really built for people that are serious about building generational wealth or already have generational wealth and wanting to protect it. All right. So we've got about 350 active platinum members. Our retention rate is around 68% for year on year, which is very high for a education company like ours, let alone crypto, because you imagine when crypto goes down, a lot of people don't want to stick around. And then you've got my 9-year track record to follow. All right. So there's a lot of executives, real estate investors, business owners, and the relationships that you are able to meet across the world. So we do events both in Australia, the US as well. We've got clients from 41 different countries. We've got a team of 6 in the US. I'm leaving to America next week. I live between the US and Australia. And we have 2 different paths you go down. You're either new to crypto and you do more education and one-on-one sessions, or if you're experienced in crypto, we do more advanced strategy sessions. All right. And we take you on a different journey depending on where you're at. So really the cost I see is all the poor decisions I see every single day of people online, all right, holding through all crashes, never selling, buying bad altcoins, losing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, missing a cycle, all right, or just missing out on an opportunity. And it works out to be around $40 a day, our platinum program, where you get insights and access to us 24/7. And the upside is ginormous if you get it right. All right. Now, the next 72 hours, what we're going to throw in for you guys, for those of you who are interested, on top of what we normally have to offer, we're going to prioritize your onboarding to get in there and start as soon as we can in the next 24 hours. You're going to have a 90-day fast track coaching session. So you're going to get an additional one-on-one session on top of your 8. You're also going to get access to the mastermind. So we've got in-person masterminds all year that we've just announced the dates of. So there's 4 across the world. So we do 2 in Australia and 2 in LA. And these are amazing in-person events for all of our platinum community, where we bring in guest speakers. We do networking, we do strategy. The team and I are going to be there. And you can bring a partner to also our end of year party. So we have an end of year platinum celebration, which is basically a bunch of drinks and wine and celebrating amongst an amazing network of people. So two ways to join. One is we've got the full investments, $15,000 US dollars paid up front. Simplest way, you can come in, you pay with your crypto, pay with cash, pay with bank transfer, or you can do a monthly option. And it's a 12-month contract. It's not like a monthly option that you leave after 3 months. It's a 12-month program, a 12-month commitment, but you can pay in monthly installments. So it's $1,500 a month, which is really an easy way to kind of get started. In Australian dollar terms, it's $20,000 Australian and $2,000 monthly. The only way you can join is by application. You cannot join this online because we filter every application to make sure it's a good fit for the community. So I'll get the guys to put the link in the chat for those who are interested. We only take on a certain amount of members every month because we want to make sure everyone's got a great experience. So there's only, I believe, 5 spots left for this month. So if you are interested, you can go fill out that form and speak with one of the team. And the time requirement question we get a lot. This is great, Ben, but how much time do I need? Bruce talks about this. Time's a factor. He doesn't really have time to investigate. He saw what Collective Shift had to offer and seemed to resonate. And we feel comfortable the team knows what they're doing. When you join, what's required of the first month is about an hour for the first, a week for the first month. Then beyond that, you have access to the weekly briefings, your client success manager, and access to our community where you can ask questions. And so you never miss a thing. All the portfolio alerts is given to you to save you time. It's about saving you time versus having to do it on your own. All right. Another question we get is this actually worth $15,000? Well, Jason, he moved from a situation of being in a loss to being up 250%. And it was an absolute game changer. So the real question is probably not is $15,000 worth it? Is what we have to offer worth to have the framework that could turn a potential massive loss if you make the poor decisions into a potential 2.5x. Not everyone makes 2.5x, obviously, but the potential downside to monitor that risk of loss or poor decision, and also always being late, always being exit liquidity and listening too late to those investments and getting access to what we deliver is a massive upside opportunity. And that's where our members make that back. All right. The other thing as well is it is tax deductible for most people. So a lot of people do it through their company. A lot of people do it through their SMSF or their 401k. And it's just a really good, opportunity to take advantage of. So I think there's, again, 5 spots. For the next 72 hours, you'll get these additional bonuses as well. Priority onboarding, the 90-day fast track, the webinar replays from last month with our members, priority mastermind access, and then the sell strategy blueprint, an extra $11,000 of value. You guys are going to get absolutely for free for inclusive of that for the first 5 people. I'll make sure we get some questions as well in a second, folks. Make sure it's coming through all right. Now, for those of you that are not ready for Platinum, we do have a accelerator program. So the accelerator program is self-paced. It's $5,000 a year. What isn't included is you don't have any high touch. There's no one-on-ones. There's no founder sessions with me, no in-person events, no WhatsApp community. It is a education platform, and you get 4 live calls. You get 4 calls in a month, weekly, and then that's done. So you get the first 4 steps out of the 7 of the education program for Accelerator, and it's all self-paced. So no dedicated client success manager, as I mentioned, and the support is not provided for the Accelerator. It's a self-paced education play versus the guided live for Platinum. So if you're interested in Accelerator as well, the next session starting in a couple of weeks. And again, that's a limited sort of capacity as well. So you can book in a chat with the team as well. Cool. I think that goes through basically everything. Quick recap. What we covered today was those parts around the Bitcoin position, why we're holding certain altcoins is now the time. And then the 2 path forwards you have is the Platinum or the Accelerator. Let's answer some questions. Feel free to fire them in the chat. And awesome to see people filling out that form. So the form basically, folks, is just an application form so we can best understand if this is a good fit for you. All right. So you just put in the details. How much is your crypto portfolio right now? How much are you realistically looking to invest in the market over the next 12 months? It's okay if you don't know, just put it in a rough amount. What are your goals? We want to understand your goals and see if it's a good fit. What's your biggest challenge? this just helps us understand and curate the consultation you'll have with one of the member growth team. Just confirming you do have the investment for the program, and if you're approved, are you making sure you're going to show up on time? So it's a video call with one of our teams. So we just put in the details here. So if we put it over, put in your details, and then you're going to book in a video call session. And this is just a consultation where you can ask questions, get a better understanding of the program, Accelerator Platinum. The team will ask you a few questions to better understand, what you need support with. All right. And that is a video call. Hit schedule, book that in, and you can have a chat with the team. Awesome. Look forward to chatting with everyone. Now, feel free to throw in some questions, folks. As we do, send in those, and I'll start to answer some of these questions to help out. But yeah, really the next 90 days, the plan is to get you in that first 30 days, onboarding complete, have your framework, get your one-on-ones locked in with our team, get your sales strategy sorted, get you into the Collective Shift portfolio, connected with our other members, and get you on a session with me. And then without it, ultimately, going in alone, you're just going to continue to have the noise, the uncertainty, the sales strategy. The content that we'll obviously share today quickly becomes redundant when the market moves. And that's why we want to keep you up to date. All right. So if you're ready, you go over, click the link, put in your application, and lock in some of those awesome bonuses. Now, shoot any questions, folks. Let's get to some Q&A here.
We did have one. We got a lot coming through. Yeah, thanks. Keep them coming. From Brenton here. Yeah, just can you explain how on-chain signals, actually work, or can you elaborate on them? Yeah, so as Ben was saying, your Bitcoin being 24/7 accessible by everyone, you can see when everyone's buying and selling. Okay, cool. But in over time, people realize, well, things are very cyclical in crypto, so you can see patterns of holder behavior. So how much are people in profit? It can get to a certain level and percentage of how much Bitcoin in the overall network is in profit. Historically, there'll be indicators that suggest, say, okay, we're getting pretty high now. This tends to be a time where people start to take chips off the table and start to sell and take profits. Similarly, duration of time is a massive one. So short-term holder, long-term holder. In bear markets, just short-term holders can get very much in the mindset of just getting back to break even, and then they sell. So Checkmate talks a lot about this as short-term holder cost basis is one of his favorite indicators in a bear market. So yeah, it's a fascinating space, Brenton. Checkmate does around 2 posts per week, diving into all of it because of the pattern behavior. More importantly, it's the profitability of holders plus the duration of time. He's an absolute wizard at it. He wouldn't be growing as he's gaining a massive profile globally now. Checkmate, he's done awesome work and worked with some of the biggest names in the space like Coinbase, to help for them to help sort of get him on to explain all these concepts, because hey, if it was just a bunch of garbage, then he wouldn't be growing as big as he is. So he's a legend, and we did just do a workshop with him actually recently, Ben.
Yeah, so you got all the access when you join, and if you get approved, you get instant access to all of this is just for Platinum, all the access to the bonus sessions. So Checkmate, we just did one just very recently, which you can watch back. We did investor sessions that we do educational sessions, frequently. We did some stuff on property mindset. We had a high net worth advisor come in. We do tax. We help you with the tax structuring and lending. We get you integrated, and we've got a lot of partners across the world to help you on the tax side as well. And then you put all your portfolio in here to track it all, and then we can help support on those calls. And then at the moment, the community platform is in WhatsApp, but we're actually in beta at the moment for our community will be rolled over into our own dedicated platform. So you can see here, this is the community platform which you get access to, where you introduce yourself, you can meet the other members. There was some conversations just yesterday, literally around Amber and Stacey were meeting each other, business owners, and they're catching up. We've got localized groups as well, so you can join, whether you're some of our US clients, New Zealand, Kiwis, UAE, We've got all that there. And then you've also got the ability to ask the analysts where you can send in questions and have all that support as well, which is super cool. What was that? You mentioned that a token like Hype you're getting before the exchange, are there member resources? Yes, 100%, Seetha. So that is about the decentralized exchanges. So we have a full resource library we go through to help people invest in DeFi and Ethereum. So, how to set up a Uniswap, how to set up a MetaMask. We've got, guides that we take you through. But one of the best things about the Platinum program is that you can just jump on a one-on-one call with your coach, and we set that up with you on a call. So we can help you set that up, or alternatively, the done on your own model is the accelerator where you can log in and see all these and follow all the step-by-step guides to do it yourself. Yeah. The portfolio as well. So the way we share the portfolio is through the platform. So you get all the updates and alerts when we make an update to our portfolio live here in the platform. And then we have a little portfolio area where you get to track and see all of our investments whenever we update the portfolio. We send out an alert to showcase what we're buying, what we're selling. So that's always given to you ahead of time, which is really cool. Do you guys have specialized and optimal crypto tax setups? Yes. So we have partners, BH. So we do so a couple of things. One is we run tax sessions. So we've got like tax experts that come in and do like sessions live with our members. So as an example, we had Adrian from Crypto Tax Australia recently come in and do a bonus session. Adrian also comes to all of our in-person events. So you can come to our masterminds and our member masterminds and speak with him. And then also we have a range of partners that you get access to that we're having here. So we've got New Zealand tax partners, we've got US tax partners, Canadian tax partners all in here that you get introductions to. And we have great partnerships where you get free consultations with them through the membership, which is cool. Brenton, in the Accelerator program, do you offer any support if you have trouble with the self-guided info? So only on the group sessions, Brenton. So for the first 4 weeks, you get a live session per week for 4 weeks. But then, there's no support after that. There is a community that you get access to, but it's support and the one-on-one access is just through the Platinum program. How do we get to Platinum Hub? That's once you join Kobe, that's the Platinum Hub that you get as part of the membership. Matt, do you want to share fundamental and technical analysis and how that differs to stocks?
Yeah, that's what Jamie there. And I was going to read out your other question there, Jamie, as well, which was, again, you're saying that you've been trading stocks, out of New York for years, but like in crypto, confidence in crypto, like how do you actually apply and analyze this stuff? It's a very like a different area as you're assuming, and a lot of people who apply, really rigorous, like even valuation methodologies on cryptocurrencies, in line with traditional finance and investing, they tend to, do very poorly if that's all that they're using to focus on. So in crypto, we do definitely apply, fundamental and technical analysis. The technical analysis side of things isn't all that different, or the differences are very minimal. And not really worth talking about. The fundamental side of things, it's more still much the same sort of things you're doing. You're just trying to track growth of adoption, like growth adoption metrics. You want to see them growth, product market fit. What's the composition of the team that's behind this thing? Are they first-time founders, or do they have experience in sort of adjacent sort of areas? That's like things like that we analyze. And obviously the competitive landscape in terms of the fundamental analysis, actually looking out for what is the competition right now. Are they upcoming competitors? Are they different to this project I'm researching? Things like that. And then there's things to do with more the tech side of it as well. But really, that's all somewhat similar. But I would say the narrative aspect of it, which, it's really like a more momentum based thing. And it does apply in stocks sometimes. You see, the themes of the month, or AI be really hot, for a few months. You could argue a lot of that is justified, but I would say stock markets even have a tendency to sort of, inflate and just get caught up in the buzz of things. Crypto, I guess, does that, but just in a lot more concentrated of a way. And I guess that can really drive returns, sort of seeing what is gaining traction and where the market will sort of go with a narrative and speculation will enter. So over time, I don't think that happens. I think in many years to come, I think valuation methodologies will come to crypto, ones that everyone uses and agrees on, things like, you know, PE ratios and other valuation metrics that you have in stock markets, but they just don't exist yet in a way that there's a consensus on it. Like, they do exist, but those people, as I said, who apply those metrics, like, haven't done well historically. So we have all information about all of that, like in our resources, and obviously on a coaching call as well. Like I've had times where I've broken that topic down in coaching calls and things like that.
Brenton, sorry to be clear, man. Yes, yeah, got obviously support. Sorry, to be clear with the accelerator. Yes, there's support that you get throughout the year. It's just through the community platform, so you can still ask questions and stuff, and we can help you there. It's just not on video, like one-on-one calls. Obviously, email support in the community, the analysts are in there. It's just not on the one-on-one level. Awesome, folks. Any more questions to send through? Look forward to having conversations with a lot of you that are sort of having a think about, you know, the next steps for yourselves in crypto. The call is the best way to just kind of get a feel for, you know, whether it's even a good fit or not, and the team can kind of walk through that. And yeah, we'd love to. Go, Matty.
There was another question here, John. What do you think about World Liberty Finance, the DeFi platform that is sort of tied to, you know, some of the Trump family? It's about $3 billion market cap, $10 billion fully diluted. Like, we've stayed away from it. We just think there's better options out there. Well, and even to be honest, like, it is an altcoin at the end of the day. So altcoins have just been, really, we haven't been buying altcoins, thankfully, for several months now. World Liberty Finance, I guess, falls in that bracket by definition. But even that aside, ultimately still want to see a bit more signs of adoption, data driven, I guess, like analytics that actually like point to World Liberty Financial like consistently growing, and their tokenomics for me still need to like improve in terms of some like value actually going to their token design. So it's one we're monitoring, but hasn't really done all that well so far.
XRP, Matty.
Yeah, it's actually, no, there was a question about that earlier. I think overall it's similar to what I just said about World Liberty Finance in terms of it being ultimately an altcoin. For those who are new, altcoins are just alternative cryptocurrencies, just anything that isn't Bitcoin. So ETH is an altcoin, XRP is an altcoin. Their outlook, the altcoin market outlook, has just been quite poor for a while. So I guess that aside, XRP is now, 10 years old, roughly. It's just getting to a stage now that, yes, they have gained adoption. It's more just the growth rate and I suppose the element of surprise, like how much more can they do, and will they achieve and execute on that? That's more where I get concerned, and that's why not concerned. It's more where I just try to focus and have better risk reward bets or altcoin investments like Hyperliquid than something like XRP, which is seeing extremely fierce competition these days. In all payments. Now in 2026, you've got Stripe, one of the most valuable fintech companies in the world. It's private, so it doesn't have the stocks that you can trade. But Stripe is just launched its Tempo blockchain last week with partners like Anthropic, OpenAI, DoorDash, dozens of other like names are already there. Shopify was another one. Like, they're already now using this payments blockchain, which is only for stable coins. And it's like that is a massive competitor to something like an XRP. And then you've got Circle building its ARC blockchain, ARC. They're doing a very similar thing that will be launching in 2026 as well. So it's like, yes, XRP can succeed. I think it's just they're swimming against the tide, I guess, to keep it brief, challenging conditions.
Mahul, sorry, man. Just to be clear, yeah, we covered this at the start. Is now a good time to buy? So historically, yeah, good conditions for a long term for Bitcoin here. Could we go lower from here? Yes, 100%. Like, you know, whether the bottom is in or we see 65 or even 60,000 first could definitely be on the cards. But historically, these sort of conditions have been, you know, relatively good for a long term accumulation period. It's not like put all your money in today sort of situation, but this is historically a pretty good accumulation period that we're looking at. And the key levels I was just mentioning at the start, you know, really the current zone is being held up by probably that 65, 66,000 level. We haven't seen us hit 60,000. That would something I think would have to go pretty astray for us to head down there quickly. But yeah, I think anywhere below $70,000 is a reasonable range to be accumulating. Awesome. We might wrap up there, folks. We look forward to speaking with those of you that are, you know, looking to move forward. We'll put the link again in the chat for those who want to fill out that form. Steve, I'm currently on the accelerator program. Everyone believes it's great value. Hoping that what I learned from the resources and team help me get to a level that makes platinum the right call. 100%, man. Totally understand. We look forward to speaking with a lot of you very soon. And thank you, Matt, for jumping on. Thank you, everyone. We'll send out the replay as well if you missed parts of it. And yeah, hopefully more green candles to come, and look forward to seeing you all very soon.
That's the plan. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.